Welcome to Tech Tales with Ben Tchoubineh. This is your front row seat to the stories behind today's most innovative tech leaders. Each episode dives deep into the journeys, challenges, and victories of those shaping the future of technology. From startup struggles to breakthrough moments in seasoned leaders' lives, grab a cup of coffee and join us as we uncover the human side of tech, one story at a time.
So this is episode 2. This is crazy. It's happening. As I was telling you, Kevin, the first episode just went up this morning. We're really excited, and there's already 34 views. I don't get it. We haven't even marketed it. I don't know. I don't know who's watching this thing. So we'll see how things go. But I'm so happy to have you as my second guest, Kevin Hutchison. Yeah. So Kevin is the Senior Vice President of Global Sales at OffSec. And so I'm so excited to have you here because, as an educator, as someone who does training and has been doing so for the past 30 some years, I'm dating myself, but the gray hair does it for me as well. But and the bald head, right? But as someone who's done this, I mean, I've been in professional training since 1994, so 31 years. Yeah. I love OffSec. I really love the offerings that you guys have and the quality of the product. And I think what I love the most about OffSec is how excited students are. Your students, your actual students love learning OffSec material. I think that's a key right there. When your students don't have to, they want to take your courses to be certified. I think that's amazing. Just so because of that, I'm really, really excited to have you. So today we're going to learn a little bit more about you and learn about your journey of how you got to be the guy who is responsible for the sales of this organization. But then I want to learn more about the philosophy of this organization and what you guys are all about and where you want to go next, what your plans are for the future. I think it's really important for the OffSec fandom to learn more about where you guys are going. So let's do this. Kevin, where are you from?
Oh, well, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. In no time, Ben, you'll be a podcast legend. So excited to see how this grows, and I'll definitely be a supporter of the channel.
Thank you.
So yeah, Kevin Hutchison, Senior Vice President of Sales over at Cybersecurity, creators of Cali Linux, if you're not familiar with the name. I reside in a beautiful town called Eastham in southern New Jersey, about 30 minutes east of Philadelphia. I was born and raised in a blue-collar town. It's known as the town with character in the bend of the river, a town called Florence, New Jersey. If you're not familiar with it, most people aren't. You can take a look at it. Known for its sports and its blue-collar workers and a great community. And we've been residents down here for about 4.5 years. I spent some time in Arizona for work. We're back here. And just excited to be part of this podcast.
That's awesome. So growing up in New Jersey, I mean, blue collar, and now you're running sales for like the opposite of that, right? So like cybersecurity, learning, professional. Did you, when you were growing up, is that what you were dreaming of? This is what I want to do when I grow up.
No. You see the team here.
Yeah.
My wife's a Cowboys fan, so we don't talk. I don't talk much during the season with her. I'm not happy about it. That's kind of like what I married into, right? No, my goal and a little bit about my background. I mean, it came from a single mother home with two sisters, and actually I have a half sister as well. But grew up, I mean, it really in a tough section of our neighborhood where. Look, there was days that we struggled financially. Are we going to be able to eat tonight? Am I going to be able to get clothes for the next school year, et cetera, et cetera. So, the rough upbringing is really tough. I think it's kind of shaped me who I am today. I don't take things for granted, and that's probably why I spoil my kids to give them the stuff I didn't have growing up. But I kind of knew growing up I had two options. I either do really good in school or really good in sports or a combination of both because my mother couldn't afford, she was working 3 jobs, 11 to 7 night shift, which she still works that job to today. As a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. But she also worked catering on the weekends. She'd work private cases when she'd come home. So it was kind of during the week. It's, I really didn't interact that much with my mother. because she was holding the fort down, making sure we had a roof over our head. So I learned that strong work ethic through her, what she was willing to do to sacrifice for her kids. And that's kind of how I would say my philosophy on things is exactly like hers, but my toughness definitely came from my mother. And there were some struggles in the early years with education. ADHD was a big factor there. But I knew that I had to get my stuff in line and stop getting the C's, an occasional D, but really focus on my education. So right around that high school year, I started hitting a pretty good growth spurt, and was always active in the sports, and really started concentrating on my grades, number one, and did pretty well in high school. I was probably carrying about a 3.8, 3.9 GPA in high school. Did very good on the ACT.
Oh, that's higher than me. My
Yeah,
GPA
I
was
did
like
really good. I did
3.6.
really good. It was my way out of my situation. But sports was definitely what I really, and I wasn't the best athlete to start off with. I just put the work in to be better than anyone else. And I excelled both in the basketball and the football. Football was my real passion, and I had the opportunity to have interest from very big universities in both sports. And I kind of knew that, okay, I can't afford college on my own. Let me really double down here on this sports, and chose to go play football, Division I football, as a safety. And it's tough when you're 6'4", 230 to play safety, but I did very well there. And then my goal was to play in the NFL, and had a few tryouts, and things didn't work out. Probably because I probably got a little lax and didn't stay as focused as I should, and said, you know what, let me put this degree to use. So I took that business degree and all that great learning that Monmouth University has, and went out and started working in the business world right after college, and enjoyed it. I loved everything about it.
Wow, that's so interesting. I had no idea. You played at a Division I school, Monmouth, right?
Small Division One. It was FCS back
So,
then. I think they called it 1AA. Yeah, I turned down a lot of bigger roles because I wanted to play right away. Number one, basketball, I definitely had some really good opportunities there, but it just wasn't my passion. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play pro football for this team.
yeah.
But I was on no one's radar, right? I ended up playing with a few people that made it to the league. Some of my buddies that went for high school played in the NFL, one for the Texans. Some other of my friends played for the Chargers and Titans. So I had a close group of friends that made it to that level. It just wasn't meant to be. And I'm glad it did, because it put me on the right path.
Yeah, well, right. So hindsight is 2020, right? But at
Right.
the time when you graduated and you didn't make it to, obviously the NFL, right? A very small percentage of even
Yeah.
Division I players actually make it. Um, did that kill your motivation, or did that result in more motivation, or did you just
It
basically
hurt.
say,
It
you know what, I'm
hurt.
gonna set this thing aside and I'm just gonna concentrate on living my best life in other ways? What was your thought? Like, where were you in your mind after you graduated?
I would say, it was tough. It was tough. I mean, I gave it all I got. I think there's areas where I could have doubled down on, and really the things that got me to at least some interest. I should have kept that pace, and I kind of, wanted that last semester off to relax and enjoy college for the first time, versus being that disciplined mindset that I had all my life. I wanted that freedom to kind of enjoy college, and I think that led to some late nights hanging out and things like that, where I probably didn't work out as hard as I needed to, thinking, okay, I'm gonna crush this, and it's a recipe for disaster. And I, not that I didn't do well, but definitely not up to the level to get me some interest at that next level. And I wasn't willing to take something less than the NFL. So even though the AFL at the time, indoor football was popular, I wasn't really interested in that. Even though I had some people reach out for me to go play, I wanted to play the NFL or nothing. And I kind of regret that now, because maybe that was a great starting point to eventually get into the next opportunity. But I also liked money. So if you're not in the league, you don't really make good money. So I said, why would I go there and sacrifice my body, when I can join my friends that are doing very well for themselves, and kind of get into the business side. So I got into actually my first sales gig, which is actually the toughest sales gig to date, was actually selling memberships to gyms. And I
Hmm.
know it sounds weird, but it's actually probably where I learned my craft. So the inventor of the workout worlds that we see today in the Future Fitness or Planet Fitness, I had him as a mentor.
Wow.
And literally it was like you had to memorize scripts, and you weren't able to go on the sales floor unless you memorize a script. His name's Craig Elider, and he's actually was a great mentor to me. He was tough and super successful. And I said, okay, so this is harder than I thought. I thought selling gym memberships, just take a look at the equipment, sit down. No, we had scripts for every objection and the tour, and it was a high class gym. And some of the like newbies in there were making 90, 100,000 a year. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to try this. And I did
Which at
pretty
the time was a lot of money, right?
in
Um,
2004, it was a lot of money. Yeah. For me,
yeah,
straight out of college.
yeah, exactly. Coming out of college. So I think that sounds really interesting. Was it just luck that you got this amazing person as your mentor, or did you go seek him out?
No, actually, my aunt was a nurse. She was a nurse, and they needed a nurse. They had a doctor's office in there, a chiropractic's office in there. It was, like I said, a very high class gym. We had a lot of the NFL players that would go to that gym, especially the Eagles, some Flyers. It was, it's different than it is today, these types of gyms. But she was a nurse there, and she said, hey, if you're not doing anything, they're looking for a salesperson. I said, okay, she knows the person. He didn't treat me any different because he knew my aunt. It wasn't like that. It was, you got to prove yourself. And if you can't hit these targets, you got to move on. But he was very good at kind of guiding me and giving me the tough love, but also praising me when I was doing well, and then, talking about things outside of life as well. Yeah, he was and I haven't talked to him in years.
Really?
It's gotta be, I mean, 20 plus years. I mean, probably 2005 is the last time I interacted with him, but he was kind of got my mind straight on what I wanted to do. And I realized I had the gift for gab, and I could sell on empathy and position things certain ways to get, and that feeling of getting that win, that competitive, it kind of reminded me of football, like that competitive, hey, I won this. I'm the top seller in the business, right? It's things that drove me, and you made good money. So I was excited about, doing something new, and I got a free gym membership. So I was excited about that as well.
All right. I'm kind of stuck on there's just really two opposite experiences all in the span of, short amount of time. Obviously the first was a sense of defeat from maybe trying to live a little bit as opposed to continue your hard work ethic,
Yeah.
and then of course this kind of sense of opportunity and hope that comes from having a great mentor that maybe you didn't even understand at the time. You just kind of did your thing.
Yeah.
Now looking back, right? But looking back at these kind of juxtaposing experiences, uh, because my son's in college and he's only in his first year in college, and he's that first year college kind of, you have to figure yourself out and
Yep.
so forth, and kind of learn about where you are and what you want, how you want to deal with life. Do you think that, I mean, as a kid, that's pretty grueling to be like, people think, oh, football players, they're having all the fun, but it's pretty grueling to be a college player, right? Because you have to keep up your grades and you have to perform, and you've got the pressures. I mean, especially Division 1. I mean,
Yeah.
kids need their time, right, to just process things and have fun and be a child or be a young person who goes out and has especially for someone who's social like yourself. What kind of looking back, you work your butt off now. I know you work hard, you very hard. Have you found that balance now in your life?
Yeah, I mean, look, look, my conversations with my family is simple. Sacrifice now. So down the line, I'm trying to really focus on generational wealth. Kind of my mindset. I do have three daughters. My oldest will be with us forever. She'll be 16, but she's autistic. So that was probably the next challenge in life, finding out that you're gonna have a child, that's before it's born, you've already indicated, you have indicators that there's going to be issues, things that that either your child has some type of disability, or some neurodiversity, probably not pinpointing exactly what it would be, but we kind of knew what we were getting into there. with my wife. And, then after that is, are we susceptible to having more children probably on the spectrum? Is there, and we end up having, 2 children after that. I have a 12-year-old who will be 13 this year. And then I have a 8-year-old that thinks she's my mom she's 8. She's 35. So, everything I do and why I work so hard is really for them, and for my daughter, because, I look at it as there's going to come a time I won't be here. So I look at my oldest daughter as where, how will she spend the next 30 years of her life? So I want to make sure she doesn't have any struggle. She's not putting in an institution. Well, that's what keeps me up at night and really drives me. So that's my real passion, is really taking care of her and the rest of my family, but specifically her. I want her to live out her days where she's comfortable, she's loved. And that's what really drives me and is my motivation to really go after the business hard and work so hard. I don't mind working hard. I mean, that's instilled with me. If we talk about my mother and the town I'm from, everyone's hard worker. Everyone has bad days. They have crazy things that happen in their life, right? It's kind of how do you move forward. I don't hold things where they stay on me a long time. The other thing is I always know, hopefully, God willing, there is a tomorrow. So kind of compartmentalizing things and getting rid of the negative and really focus on, okay, tomorrow, because everyone's going to have a bad day. I'm not saying I'm on the point every single day at this job. I try to be, but some days I'm like, you know what, just a bad day. Move on to the next play, just like I did in college. Move on to the next play, right? So that's kind of my mentality on things. Yeah.
It's amazing how our motivations change through life, right? What you motivated you when you were young or in college or a young professional, and what motivates you now as a parent, as the head of family. Uh, yeah, I myself, I was just having a conversation with my nephew, and I was saying how I really never was afraid of dying. Never cared if I died or not. I wasn't a daredevil or anything. I didn't do crazy things. It's just that if somebody said, "Oh, people could die or whatever," I'd be like, "Okay, when it's your time, it's your time." I had that until I had kids. And then at that point, it's like, no, I got to stick around for them. It was really about them at that point, right? And so it's so weird what happens when your life before you're a parent and then your life after you're a parent. That's a beautiful story, Kevin. It kind of is a reminder of what motivates us. It can be just, and also most people have no concept of, okay, well, there's this guy who's so successful and really is helping kind of bring this brand to the world. But understanding one's motivations, right? Internal motivations is just beautiful.
Yep.
So moving forward a little bit in terms of, okay, your professional life, and I'm pretty certain knowing you were successful at every step of the way. Tell me, when did OffSec come to on your radar? I mean, did you know about it before you started talking to them?
No.
How did it come to you?
So I come from the technical education industry, and I actually worked for the largest independent IT training company in the world, which was New Horizons. I think they're Educate 360 now, but at the time they were New Horizons, and I think they were pretty much in every country. They get 300, I don't know, 50 locations around the world. They sold everything on the gamut. It's probably the most complex sale. I think we had a company come in to go over our sales process and basically find out where our strengths and weaknesses, analysis, TAM, things of that nature as well. And what they found out was there was about 168,000 ways you can cross-sell our products. So just imagine the learning curve you needed to cover VMware, Microsoft's paths, upgrade paths, skill paths, all of that information. I mean, it was a lot of knowledge that you need to do. And that kind of prepared me for my technical prowess, because I had to put about a year plus in and then stay on top of trends to really ramp up in that business. And I started off as an individual contributor and then started working my way based on my my efforts and what I was yielding for the company in return of revenue, to start getting a manager role, then eventually into a general manager role where I was a head of a franchise group, and then moving out to Arizona probably about 8 years ago, to take on a VP of sales role and scale that business up from the ground up. So it was an exciting time. And after about 2 years in Arizona, my wife, the school system, it just wasn't a good fit for my child with the disability that she had. There was real no strong autism education out there. She was put in standard classes, and just the whole vibe of that area just wasn't a good fit for us. So we decided as a family, hey, let's go back to New Jersey. My wife was homesick already. So I made the decision to move back home. And as we're traveling, driving back cross country, my wife was applying because she knows how I am. I cannot not work. I have to be doing something. So she said, hey, there's a company looking to hire. I put your resume in. I'm like, okay. And about a week later, I got a call from my first VP of sales saying, hey, we have no sales team here internally. It's two people. They're 6, 7 months old. We are looking for somebody to come in to help scale this from the ground up.
Wait. So OffSec, or at the time, offensive security,
Yes.
was 6, 7 months old at the time?
Well, no, the company has been around for a while, but their sales division, they never had a sales division. They were just selling ad hoc courses at the time online. So, and they were probably doing well. They were probably making a few million a year. And this was 2019 in December, right before COVID. I got the offer to join OffSec, and started from there. And now our product portfolio. Back then, it was just strictly pen testing. I think we had 3 or 4 courses, to where right now we have subscriptions, a platform. It's definitely grown over the last 5+ years since I've been here.
Oh my goodness. So you went from a live training industry, right? And in-person training, and you were as filled with classrooms, buildings over, and you went to the online world, online training, not knowing what was about to happen. What a lucky move, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Because I remember, like, in December of 2019, online learning was a thing, but it wasn't the thing. It
Right.
was one way to learn. Um, wow. So pretty good timing for you, right? And
Yeah,
you were going to
yeah.
work from home, right? Everything was home based.
We had a shift to
Yes.
remote. My team was located here in the U.S., and now we have teams all over the world. I have where it's at now. I mean, I have VPs in regions. We have partners in region like yourself. We work with you guys on a regular basis. I have frontline managers. We have sales operations, sales rev ops. We have basically what you'd be looking for in a more mature selling team. We do have that now, and we're going to continue to grow. I think I have 12 or 14 open positions now as we head in this year that we're looking to fill pretty quickly. So we are continually to expand year over year. I would say almost double growth across the board. So we're doing things right.
And yes, full disclosure, Phoenix TS is a partner of OffSex, and I'll be, I think in this podcast, at least my plan is, as I move forward, I certainly want to talk to all of our partners. But I picked OffSec because I think I'm certainly fascinated by OffSec. When I first heard of offensive security, which is how you guys got started, the immediate, and it was a few years ago. I don't exactly remember. I think it was like 2021, 2020, 2021. And the immediate thing was what a really devoted fandom you guys had, right? It was very different in terms of the perspective that I kind of felt. It was like, whoa, who are these people? Um, you know, I compare it to Apple versus the PC, right? Where Apple fans, Apple for life type of thing. And they just kind of love the idea, the concept, the philosophy behind it. And OffSec, I think, was able to garner that kind of an emotional connection. What do you attribute that to?
I would say because number one, we were known as when I got here, and what we've known for is obviously we started with Backtrack before Kali Linux and kind of morphed into that. And that pen test tool, that open source Debian-based Linux that tool itself, we have, just so you know, we have about 18 million users or more per day average using that tool. So we're up there with the TikToks of the world for daily usage. So that's kind of how we built that out. But also we weren't check the box training, meaning we weren't just showing you the step-by-step things of what to follow. We were showing you the how, but also the why you were doing that technique, and really made you think laterally outside the box. And that type of grittiness and that type of fire drill exposure is what really captivated the consumers that we worked with on a regular basis. B2B, was kind of, I would say we were probably 70% B2C focus at the time before I got here, and probably 30% B2B. Like I said, episodic purchases. Oh, it's of course, let me take it, right? So that's kind of where we got that. And I think also the brand name, the logos, the kind of marketing push out there with brand awareness was phenomenal. And we were starting to build traction up probably around that 2011, 2012 timeframe. And then it became, man, this tool set's really good. And then since then, we've obviously added other tools to our umbrella, but that's kind of where we got our brand recognition from, is the user saying your product's phenomenal. Ease the pen test, whether it's apps or infraside, it's compatible with about 600 different types of programs and tool sets out there. Because of that, I think the fact that it was also free, but the quality of it, the tool, I think is really, people started paying attention to us because of that. And we've had great founders, we've had great leadership since I've been here, and great product folks and engineering folks to make sure we have the best product that's out there for pen testing.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, your founders were involved with the creation of Linux, or what's the story there?
So with our tool set, yes. As far as the background with them, I kind of stay away from that. We're a privately backed company. But as far as their details, we obviously had a board at the time, really good board here. Our investors at the time were phenomenal investors, and their whole thing was obviously the focus on the growth, but also the continuation of our product and scope of product, service offerings to the clients. They were very open-minded, very flexible. And as you know, we have new sponsors, new ownership group now, a private equity-backed firm, Leeds Equity, who's been phenomenal through the process.
Which you have
It's
so much
next level.
more in terms of resources and
Yes.
future growth capability with that, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming out, right, that we're working on, which I won't tip my hat, but the consumers and the
Well, I was
enterprise.
going to ask you about that. What do you mean you won't
I
tip your
mean, I
hat?
can,
You
I
got to
can
talk.
cover a little
You got to
bit
tell
of
me.
it.
You got to give me something.
Yeah, I can cover a little bit.
But we'll get
So,
there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
You were saying.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's kind of how we built our base up there. And then, when I got here, it was kind of, use cases and white papers and things of that nature, getting feedback from our clients of what they'd like to see within our offering to make it a better solution to fit them. And, from speaking with clients, what I found out is clients actually have measured us against competition in the market. And what they found was, and what I found and what I see is true, is people that come out of our training. This isn't open book test. This isn't ABC multiple choice testing like you would at a Pearson or Prometric View. You are physically proving that you have this skill set. So you will go in and actually do a pen test into a live environment and then do the reporting on it, just like a day of work. So it is a lot of pressure, and we want that pressure on you. We call it the try harder methodology. We don't give you the answers either. You will have to figure those out. We may give you some hints during the process, but what we found out from clients is that people that join us with our certifications are more prepared for the job, more productive. So there's less downtime to train and ramp. Number one. The second thing is they typically get promoted quicker in an 18-month span than somebody with other certifications in market, because they've proven they have this skill set and they're pretty much plug and play at that point. And because they're getting promoted, another factor comes into play. They stay with the companies longer because they're kind of moving their career path. So that big thing of retaining talent or keeping the talent is very important to businesses, right? It's hard to build unicorns. So we will plug in those unicorns and help with that by training the right people for those positions.
You were saying you got to go in and actually do a
Yeah.
pen test. And so we're talking about the certification exam. So like when you take a particular course, and the most popular course, correct me if I'm wrong, is OSCP, right? The Pen 200.
OSCP, correct.
Mhm. Now how long is the exam for that?
24 hours. And trust me, you don't need 24 hours to complete it. It's just when you start it to complete it, we give you that 24-hour window. You take it from home. It will be live proctored. So when you want to step out, you can log out, log back in to continue that. There'll always be a proctor there to monitor. Make sure you're not injecting something before the test. You're taking calls or because if you
Mhm.
fail our test, unfortunately, and we mean fail by cheating, we will catch it. 100% we will catch it. And we're very strict on that. We believe in the ethical play there.
Course.
So you will be banned for life. We don't make exceptions. We
Right.
will prove our case. And once you're banned, you're banned. We rarely see that. It's been a while, I think, since somebody's been banned, but overall, typically we find out it's about 7+ hours to complete that exam of actually work that you have to do, and then obviously submitting the report afterwards, which is important that you're submitting that report.
So that's crazy, right? I mean, I've heard of, Cisco has some pretty tough exam
They're tough.
environments as well,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so a lot of effort goes into creating the infrastructure for something like this, and then maintaining, managing, having, I guess, proctors 24/7, effectively training them. So, I mean, the amount of effort to manage something like this cannot be understated. But then the value on the back end, right, for the students who make it through here. Um, what based on that philosophy, right? Uh, Someone takes the OSCP class, they go to take this exam. If they've made it through this exam, I mean, obviously they've shown their knowledge, but they've also shown their work ethic. They've shown their patience. They've shown
I'm
their
patient.
ability to pay attention for, long periods of time and focus, right? So, I mean, it's just all of that means that someone who's taken this exam and passed it is probably a pretty good work candidate, right? And so that
Yeah.
that alone will probably give them a leg up. Besides that, I mean, that's just an amazing thing, right? And also my daughter is a student, so and she says she likes the material. She gets excited by the material or the way that
Right.
that material is presented. I mean, is it all offensive? I mean, is it just a term, or are we all always talking about offensive security, or are there other courses in there?
No, that's a great question. So we about year and a half ago, we rebranded to OffSec because we have beyond pen testing. I mean, some of our pen tests, first of all, if you're a defender, you need to learn some of our, especially the Pen 300 course, which is the more advanced course, because that's really a course how to stay undetected on the network and not leave footprints as you're maliciously going in and being the attacker. Well, if I'm a defender, I need to start going in and looking for and proactively, not just the manual logs, looking at false positives, but literally, okay, if I want to be a threat hunter, I need to know how I'm going to get attacked and how to find somebody on the network that my regular day checkbox
Yeah.
is not going to find. So there's a great way to cross pollinate and train there to strengthen your SOC units and actually develop some threat hunters. Number one. But no, we actually have courses that cover application security as well. And the pen tests are white box and black box methodologies there, securing the application before it's external facing or internal facing, which can also compromise not only the application, but any of your data on the back end and other areas of the ecosystem across your attack vector. So if you were to look at that landscape and say, okay, this application leads to XYZ, if you get an application compromised on the front end, it could lead to devastating things on the back end. And that's what companies are really trying to protect right now is the integrity of their data, strong disaster recovery plan. Do I vault it? In some cases, depending on how the backup's structured, even if it's encrypted, it can get re-encrypted regardless of a ransomware, and it's useless to the attacker and you, but you may not know that. Right. So you're paying for something that no one can use anyway. Right. So there's all these different things you have to worry about. So the application security is going to be really important, but we're also getting into things like AI and LLMs. We have defensive content. We have cloud security content. We also have secure coding. So before I create a product, secure coding, stop using open code source, right? Apache, Log4j, some of those issues that you've experienced 2019, 2020. How do I make secure my codes? We have also developed stuff around Python and Java recently as well, more advanced level training. So within our platform, I mean, you can search for everything. So we might not have it wrapped into a course, let's say, with a certification, but we have, I mean, it's got to be close to 8,000 hours of actually content where you can go in and search for specific bite-sized pieces that you need to focus on. And also a repository. If you're doing a pen test and you forget how to do something, you could just search or use our AI tool in there, which will literally highlight what you need to follow to kind of give you some of that guidance in our platform. It's something that we created called Kai, which is an awesome product feature within our platform. So we cover a lot.
So Kai is like an AI helper. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So I can say to Kai, hey, how do I do a SQL injection? And it will literally start breaking down, giving you things within our platform, but also some external things as well. It may get you outside of our platform to look at some things to help you out. So we're not just OffSec, OffSec, OffSec. We will guide you outside to give you the right information as well, to give you hints. We're not going to give you the answer. We'll give you hints. We really want you to flex that brain muscle and work on that brain.
That's amazing. The U.S. government is a big client. Um, Two questions with that. One is, do you ever hear about them being concerned about training other organizations or other people or other countries in this amazing stuff? And two, are you seeing some slowdown in training as a result of what Doge is doing?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say maybe a slowdown in the spend of training right now, but the appetite for training and what's on the roadmap as things start to clear up. Some of the things like P card hold for 30 days right now. Continuing resolution was signed last Monday, so things like that will start. I mean, we're always going to invest into our DoD and supporting our government clients, obviously, and if you look at our spend in the government, you take the next 10 countries and combine their annual budget, we got them beat still in spend. But cyber is going to be the next phase of, as you get into, and you hear this all the time with AI and warfare, and you have malicious actors in these other countries outside the U.S., non-NATO, where you have to protect, because that's where the attacks will come from, and we get attacked all the time. So we have a very strong across the board, I think, security posture as a whole from a government standpoint. I think we identify things. We might not make them public, but the government is pretty strong, and they're going to continue to develop their talents, find talent, and also maintain talent. Because what you learned 30 days ago, maybe every 30 days, every week, there's going to be a new attack out there, right? And if your people aren't prepared for that, that's going to be an issue. And you can have as many VPSs in the middle, things you want vault. Eventually, something's going to get through. Utility attacks, grid attacks, right? Power grid attacks, things like that. You got to be careful of. But also that data is going to be very important, protecting that data. So using things that is not locked down will be an issue. And we saw some stuff on the news recently where, you see text messages getting out to the public, things like that. That stuff becomes a problem, right? Because depending on that situation could lead to other things. So I think the government, I think from my experience, it doesn't matter who is in the administration, they're always going to protect, obviously, the infra and the citizens. They do a pretty good, solid job of that, I believe. But I think more is coming. I think more investments in cyber are on the way to protect our nation for sure.
Okay. And do you ever feel kind of a sense of, are we teaching too much to too many people?
No, because one of our courses would not be on the platform. It's kind of our unicorn and our gold, or I'd say diamond level course, which is our EXP 401, our AWE course. That is a course that will teach you. There's a lot of things you can do with that course, but basically you can go in and shut down governments, right? So that's a course we're very careful who we train that to. We try not to go outside the United States with that. Possibly we'll work with some NATO countries on that course, but that is the go-to course and the hardest exploit course there is in the market. I found nothing close to it. We keep that close to our vest. It will never be in our platform, as you said, just in case. We don't want that getting outside certain parameters, so we keep that close to the vest.
Yeah, and so you basically, it's like an invite only for students. Is
Yes,
that what
there'll
it
be
is?
a lot of cross checks and references going on to take that course. Um, we won't sell it. Put it this way, we will not sell it unless you interview with our instructors, especially from a B2B standpoint. We got to make sure that your people are at that skill level or have the skills to take that course. A lot of times they may think they do, but it's not drinking through a fire hose. It's drinking through the ocean with a funnel. It's just a different animal in itself.
I love it. All right, wow, I've learned so much. This is amazing. I thought I knew a lot about OffSec. What, coming back to you and your journey from the day you started and to now running all of sales, what do you attribute this, both from the culture of OffSec's perspective and OffSec's kind of uh, I guess, taking you in and maybe training you or preparing you for this position, or from your own perspective, the kinds of things that you achieved and your achievements to get you to be the person to have been kind of tapped to become kind of the person to run all of sales. What do you attribute that to?
I would say a couple things. I'm obviously, I always tell people I'm eager to learn everything, and I love learning stuff. I learn stuff from my reps. I learn stuff from non-sales folks all the time. So my appetite to learn and not think I know everything is very important. Number one. I think that my directness and the fact that I can also peek around corners and see ahead, future state of the business is really important. And once again, I've been lucky throughout my career. I've had really good mentors that, I mean, they're extremely successful people. And I mean, they're in a different league when it comes to, you look at their financial prowess and what they do, but they're very intelligent. And I'm able to get their time and get their ear to share ideas. Most recently, if I look at our former CRO, who's now the CEO of Monetate, Steve Marr, who departed us beginning of end of January, beginning of February.
Also a great guy
I had
who I
about two
work
and
with.
a half years of really learning a lot of things besides the normal day-to-day sales functions. Getting an understanding on how to peek around those corners better, how to anticipate lulls within the pipeline, how to deal with bigger things on the back end as far as, okay, the revenue as a whole. When do we park money here? How do we go about the marketing side of things? M&A, which is really big, obviously, in businesses. If we go to acquire, what does that look like? He still owes me a lot more learning, by the way. So I will be, I talk to him still on a regular basis, but there's a lot of stuff he promised me. So Steve, if you're watching, you owe me a lot more tips and tricks. But I've just been lucky. Even if I go back to my high school days, not really having a father around, and that whole situation, which I won't really get into, but I had great coaches that pushed me really hard in high school. I had great teachers that would never give up on me. I had great teachers in college. I was lucky to have great coaches in college and then great mentors, 4 or 5 really good mentors. And then I look at people at the C level that we have, right? So I look at like Ning, who's our CEO, first time CEO, super transparent, right? Hold you accountable for your actions, but also we call her the mama bear here, right? She's very protective of the team. And you learn from her as well. And then I can learn from our CFOs and things like that. So I've just had it takes a village, and I've really had a great village around me to help build me up. And then obviously my drive for success, my competitiveness, the fact that my technical prowess, the effort that I put in is kind of what propelled me into the role that I'm at now. It's not just being lazy, complaining, not doing the 9 to 5 stuff, punching the clock and acting like, oh, I'm done. You got to remember, I got teams all around the world. Sometimes I have to be on a call at 2 a.m. in another country to help support my salespeople. Right. And I'm looking back
And
at
you're
last.
okay with that?
Yeah, you have to. It's part of the job role. So I always tell people, when you get to especially a sales leadership with a global brand with this type of company, especially in cyber, you can't stick your toe in the water and see if it's warm. You're going to make mistakes, and trust me, I've made my share of mistakes, but you learn from them, pivot quickly. Yellow lights never turn green in most cases. They're either going to stay yellow or turn red. So there are some of the things I've learned throughout my career here. And look, you make some mistakes. I've been managing people since I was like 27. I mean, 25-year vets. I'm taking on people that are super successful. So being the young kid and learning how to work with different people's characters and certain things, and kind of the people factor, which people forget about, right? The people factor is very important. How I may coach somebody up over here may be different. This person is more driven on this. So learning those different types of personalities and how to manage to them is also very important. But which made me real successful as well, besides all that, is always integrity, always be upfront and honest with people, whether they want to hear it or not. And the 2 other things my grandfather always told me: never lie, cheat, or steal, right? There's 3 things. So that kind of goes hand in hand. So as long as you follow that path, you live a good life, you're honest with people, and you'll be successful.
It's amazing. I think Bill Gates something I think said it. It was a quote from him where he was like, if only crooks knew how successful they could be if they were
Yeah.
honest, right?
Yeah.
It just incredible. I think it was Bill Gates. I may be wrong. So all right. So hard work, willingness to learn, managing people for who they are, the honesty, openness, and being open with people and honest with people and telling them the way it is, whether they want to hear it or not. But the specific thing that I heard that I thought was really interesting is I think you have a very interesting capacity to find and use is not the right word, take advantage of, not really, and learn from, find and learn from excellent mentors.
Yes.
Like, I think, being surrounded by amazing people doesn't mean anything unless you take the steps to learn from them, right? How do you like, if you decide, oh, you're going to be my mentor? I mean, I have a feeling you decide that. They don't, you decide that. How do you approach that?
You're saying I push myself on people. Is that what you're saying? No,
I have a feeling that's what you do because you keep talking
so
about the amazing
sometimes,
mentors that you have, right? And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, you might be natural at kind of getting people to want to help you, but even that takes some skill. So teach us, tell us,
Yeah.
oh master.
So the expression "closed mouths don't get fed." So, for example, I'll have, and there's a couple of chairman investors of some really big companies, and through over the years helping their businesses out, I'd reach out to them just to check in or provide them with things non-sales related. Hey, I saw this article. I thought it'd be of interest to you based on what vertical you're in. I don't know if you saw this, right? Or, hey, there's some really good information. If you have maybe a quarterly review coming up, maybe this is something you want to get in front of your leaders. Give them some information where I'm not trying to sell them anything, but also people will ask me, hey, I saw you're connected with XYZ. Could you help me out in referral? And what I usually ask them is, yeah, I'll connect you with anyone you want, help you get in the door, introduce you. Hey, I asked for something in return. And they're like, what? I'll say to them, it's nothing monetary, nothing of that nature, but I may have some questions for you one day and I might need your guidance on some things. Is it okay if I get your information and if that day comes up and I need something from you to learn more and you get your input on things for me to be successful? Do you mind just sharing a few minutes with me? Yeah. So it's a give and a get there. I'm going to ask for that. I just don't do things just to do them. I always have that ask. I think with Steve is the latest one I can point out. With Steve, it was, I think in the beginning with Steve, it was also challenging to get what I needed out of him, which was not his mentorship, but for him to like, hey, let's get this thing rolling and basically get everyone rolling in the same direction. And Steve is so intelligent. But just his personality and his drive and it took us like 3 months to really start to gel, I would say, to make the right decisions together. I felt like there's a little disconnect there in the beginning, but I called him out on it and said, hey, there's a disconnect here. Here's what I need from you. And I'm not seeing that. And he said, you know what? You're right. Okay, here's what we're going to do. But let me tell you something. He held me accountable. He was like, okay, you want this? You're going to get this. And I'm like, that's what I want. Right. So, like I said, being upfront and honest of what you're trying to get out of that relationship is important. And both of us were trying to do the best thing for this company, obviously, in the success, our success. He would be a mentor, but the thing is with Steve, he's got to remember, I'm a sales guy. So some of the things he positioned to me, I know why he was doing it. And I would catch him like, I know what you're saying that. I get you. You're trying to sell me on that idea. Just tell me, right? But I learned a lot from him. He's probably the most significant influence throughout my professional career that I've had. And I've only had 2.5 years with him.
That's amazing. When you were saying, yes, people would ask me to connect or something, and I would say, okay, I'll do that, but I'll need something in return. It totally took me to the beginning of The Godfather. I don't know why.
A horse head,
I don't know
right?
if you remember that part where he's like, well, one day I'm gonna come back and ask you for something, and then
Yeah,
it's like,
I remember
holy
that.
cow.
That's with
But
the
in a positive way, in a
mortician,
positive
the
way, in a
mortician
good
guy
guy.
that helped him out with his son. Today's that day, right? When Sonny
Yeah,
got
yeah.
shot up and he had to, do his funeral and stuff. He came to him.
Right.
I remember that
Yeah,
scene
yeah.
very well. Yeah.
Of course, The Godfather. Like, every scene is so memorable.
I actually watched
You
that
know,
last night, by the way. I love that. I
are
love
you
that.
serious?
I don't watch 3, just 1 and 2. So anyone of you that like 3 over 1 and 2, shame on you.
I gotta tell you, I don't know why. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I love 3. I don't love it as
Oh
much as
no.
1 or 2, but I also love 3. I really do.
Oh, I'll tell you
It's
what,
kind of
Ben.
this
No
this
one's
journey
perfect.
of the nephew who comes up and then becomes the new Godfather. I like the journey. I like the journey,
Right.
of like this kind of hoodlum that comes out of the
I
streets
won't hold
and
that
then
against you. I won't hold that. Yeah,
yeah.
Andy Garcia does a really good job in that,
He did a
actually.
good job. He did a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't like. Yes, it's not as good as the first two. The first two are classics, right? But I don't think
Right.
it's a bad movie. I think it's a great movie. Number 3 is really good, and I love the Garcia journey of like he's barely on the radar of of, Al Pacino, but then by the end, he's like the Godfather, the new Godfather. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Anyway, so many lessons. I love it. I love this. This conversation is amazing. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, let's go back. Well, we're not done yet. Let's go back to OffSec. I
Sure.
wanna finish with, you got to give us some things. If there's exciting things coming up,
Sure.
new regulations that might be helpful. I might kind of bring that out there, or new challenge, new tools, new courses, for the OffSec fandom. Give us something
Sure.
that will excite us.
Sure. So we're really investing heavily. So we update all of our content. Literally, if the new software comes out version, we go into our existing courses. So you're never going to have something stale. So for example, if there's changes, let's say something Microsoft does, let's say AWS, let's say there's a change there in what we're using internally, because we kind of give you we're not vendor specific in the fact that, like, for example, if you're using this particular seam over here, we don't just all of our content's built around, let's say, the elk stack, right? We'll give you tons of flavors in there. Same thing with defensive tools as well, right? So we try to spread it out. What I can tell you now is we will get heavier invested in specific vendor training as well, or should I say, products tied into our portfolio a little bit deeper there. We'll still have the open source as well, but specific things that are targeting what our clients are using on a daily basis. We're working on some things within our cyber range. As you know, besides our training, we have cyber ranges and basically a tournaments edition where you can run CTF events, campaigns, red versus blue. You can do red teaming or just blue teaming, where the defense or the attacks are automated. So you don't have to sit there and build out a sandbox from scratch, worry about testing on your production environment or your real environment. So we're going to do some facelifts over there as well. They're going to get a lot beefier, especially on the defensive side, the way we're going to structure things, customization options within the lab environments, which I won't dive into too deep. That'll be an announcement coming out around that. I tell you, new content and courses. So higher level defensive courses beyond SOC 200, cloud advanced courses, and then obviously AI and LLMs are really where we're getting a lot of demand for. And then also, if there's an attack that happens tomorrow that basically is a major issue, we will probably have that within, I'd say, 2 to 4 weeks, something replicated in our environment instantaneously. So our to market on a new attack or a vulnerability or an exploit, we are probably the quickest to go to market on that. Like I said, we update and push out content weekly. So it's a big effort. We have a great content and engineering team here that do an excellent job. And I think we'll do some facelifts within our platform, some of the reporting and analytics. We have a really good feature in there now. How do we make it even better for our customers? Give them line of sight to usage, strength and weakness analysis for the teams, but also how do we allow them to build out custom learning within that environment? So we have that feature now. We're going to make it even better for the users. So you can actually drag and drop and just build out custom for any job role, especially in the government side, going to those different roles. 8140 coming up. We're on the process. We had to change at the guard with administration. So 8140, getting that wrapped up. And then we have a connection engineering thing right now to connect to the Open Dash there through that PCT as well. And then obviously continue our relationship with partners like you, based on the needs of our DoD clients, primes and subs, supporting them for wins. And then obviously you saw a press release. We just won a big opportunity with the state of Texas with Carasoft as our DISTI. So we're excited about all that coming up. So
That was a lot. That was a lot.
it's a lot. I'm just giving you a quick macro view. I won't get
right. For
specific,
the audience, you might have to rewind and listen to all of that again. I
It's a
don't
lot
want
of
to
stuff.
focus on one thing because we do a lot of work with the DoD. So
Yeah.
8140, let's focus on that. 8140 is huge, right? Because that is the policy that kind of defines the courses
Right.
that are mandated for DoD personnel, cyber personnel to take to remain in their jobs, right? So to kind of show that they know what they're doing. Now, do they have to take all of the courses? No, but they can select from a menu of certifications, right? And 8140 is that menu of certifications. OffSec until now is not. on that menu, even though DoD staff takes it anyway. Even though it's not on that menu, they want the courses anyway because it's really good.
Right.
Finally, now OffSec is about to join the other cyber certifications on this menu of available courses for DoD or required courses for DoD personnel. That is really exciting for us. That's exciting for OffSec. At least in our world, it means that OffSec's finally arrived. I know OffSec's been around and arrived a long time ago.
Right.
But 8140 is really, really exciting because also globally, governments look to that policy. Once a DoD has your certification on that list, which is the 8140, everybody else kind of looks at that, both in terms of the other agencies in the government, but also other governments. So it can be the beginning kind of a snowball effect to make OffSec required learning as opposed to fun learning. It'd be both required and fun, which is amazing, right? You're having fun doing what you have to do. It's really incredible. What are we talking about in terms of timing?
We're hoping to get it wrapped up sometime in Q2. There's still some moving pieces and things that we have to work on. Like I said, because of the change in administration, the people we're working with no longer there. So it's a brand new, and I think the ramp time to get there is going to be a lot shorter. But now you're kind of that bottleneck, right? Where there's a pipeline of things going through, and now we're kind of stuck right here. But we're working through that with them. I'm hoping by the end of Q2, but definitely this year. If it prolongs any further than that, I would be shocked. But we're probably looking at Q2. And our biggest client to date, even without 8140, and we look back and remember 8570 back in the day, where it was certain requirements, especially with CompTIA was big there when I was selling their stuff back in the day. It is definitely our biggest client is the DoD, right? And then the government itself of the United States is our biggest client, still without having 8140. So like I said, our government is doubling down on our security posture, cyber resilience, and protection of our key assets here within the states. So as well as partners, right? Especially in NATO countries. US aid, that kind of got cut off, right? As far as restrictions and fundings for some of those countries in NATO, but there's other avenues around that and things like that our government's been excellent as far as sourcing to protect, obviously, interests overseas. I think when 8140 hits for us and it's official, I think what ended up happening is the government will invest more into the types of training that we provide because, like I said, we're not checkbox training. We are going to definitely get them thinking outside the box and learn new techniques that they're probably not doing on the day-to-day. And look, there's some people that just know it. They have no certifications, and they are still some of the best pen testers in the world. So it may not fit everyone, but we do have something to fit everyone here at OffSec. Zero to hero for sure.
Amazing. Zero to hero for sure. What a way to end this thing. Wow. I love this. This was so interesting to me. I learned a lot. I hope our audience does as well. Thank you. I learned a lot about you. And what makes you tick. And I'm always interested in kind of like what are some of the tricks of becoming successful? And it's usually no trick at all. Hard work and making good decisions and learning from your mistakes and also having good mentors. That's a new one. I'm going to have to go for that one.
Gotta have great mentors. And guess what, Ben? Down the road, being the owner of a company, trust me, I'm going to nag you for some advice too. So believe it or not, I'm going to force you to become one of mine too as we get through this down the road.
You're gonna have to give me some free 49ers tickets or something, but I'm here
wherever
for it.
Yeah, that's a good trade-off. There you go. Now you're doing what you're trading off on me.
There you go. See, I'm a quick learner, buddy. I'm a quick learner, Godfather style. So yeah, and first time my guest was Jim Gopal, who's a very important person in the CMMC world. Now we've got OffSec as our second episode. Our first episode, for those who actually listened, there was some sound issues. I think I've fixed those. I'm really happy to have fixed that. And we'll be improving on an ongoing basis. We got to figure out my background. I mean, there's all kinds of things. But in the end, it's about the learning and the fun. And I am having a blast. Both episodes were fun, and I just can't wait for the next one. Kevin, you were amazing. Thank you for your openness, for your vulnerability.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing, all this information about OffSec as well. Really cool stuff. Thank you. And I hope to see you in a future episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, guys, go Niners.
Yeah. All right. Later.
Thanks, Ben.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Tech Tales with Ben Tchoubineh. We hope you enjoyed the stories and insights from some of the brightest minds in the tech industry. Make sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and join us for more inspiring tales from the world of technology. Stay curious, stay connected, and as always, thanks for tuning in. This is Ben Tchoubineh, signing off. See you next time.